watch the stream to make sure we are streaming on Twitch. And there it comes. And we have audio. Excellent. And
Woo!
Dementia Radio now. And recording in 3, 2, 1. Oops. There.
Recorded live on DementiaRadio.org, it's the Funny Music Podcast. Brought to you by FuMP.com, where you can download new free comedy songs twice a week. Now, here's your hosts, Devo Spice and the great Luke Ski.
Hey, Devo Spice!
Hey, Luke Ski!
We have Alchav of Soggy Potato Chips with us!
Hey, Alchav!
What? And we have some jerk with a webcam, Mr. Tony Goldmark.
Fun fact, the Statue of Liberty is made entirely out of cheese. Yet, strangely, it is neither French nor American cheese.
And with that, welcome to episode 776 of the Funny Music Podcast. Title of this week's episode is Accept Rough Quartz, which I will put in the chat. And your job, should you choose to accept it, is to figure out how to work that into our conversations.
Should we choose
evening.
to accept rough quartz? See,
Yes.
I already did it.
God damn it.
I already did it.
That may be the record.
Yeah, I think that's probably the record. Well done, Tony.
Yes. Yes.
Yay!
I wasn't even on the right scene to trigger the flipping.
So,
Hey,
Lee Side, get back to us if Tony has in fact broken the record for the fastest time it was worked in.
Hey, did you notice the lag is less on the Zoom
wow.
call? Let me do a speed test because let's find out how my internet's doing.
Lag is less is my favorite Lord of the Rings character.
I'm getting 110
Played by
megabits
Orlando
down.
Jones.
110 megabits, which is 100 times more than I normally get. So
Woohoo!
I don't know what happened, but last weekend something exploded up the road, like a transformer blew or something. And since then, my internet has worked beautifully. I don't know what the connection is, but if we have to sacrifice more transformers to get my internet working, I'm all for it. So anyway, let's do this thing.
Let's get caught up with what Devo and Luke have been up to since last week. Or else Devo, if Luke bailed and didn't show up.
Hey, what?
Oh, he's right.
Wildcard saying the episode. Oh, you know what? I forgot to change the title of the episode. I'll fix it in post. All right, Luke, what you been up to?
Let's see. Since the last time we spoke, Kalani had her first session of chemotherapy, and it went well because the place she's getting it from is one of the best in the state, if not the country. They were able to give her a lot of anti-nausea things and kind of steroid things before they actually gave her the proper chemotherapy, so that she wouldn't, feel the hit quite so hard. And that happened, last week on Friday, and then there was a follow-up appointment on Saturday they would go out to, so she could just get one quick little injection of something. But during the initial thing, it was basically, me just hanging out with her for about 4.5 hours, talking about stuff. She was, awake the whole time. She said she felt a little bit woozy. She's like, she could tell oh, I'm definitely on some kind of drugs right now or whatever. But it all went well. So
Good.
I'm gonna, I'm intending to be there. The first 2 months, it's once every 2 weeks. So her next one will be on the 9th. So I'll be there in person, for at least those first 4. And then the ones after that will be every week. And they aren't going to be as intense. So whether or not I'll go to all of those in person just kind of depends. But yeah. And also, so, just to kind of, help Kalani feel more like herself again, she and I went to Disneyland for the first time in over 2 months. So we went there early. We basically went there, what you call for rope drop, which means getting there right when the park opens at 8 a.m. And then initially were just going to be like, well, we'll just go for a few hours and, see how your energy level does. Because she has way more energy in the morning. She's a morning person, and it's so goddamn annoying. Oh, God. Sucks. Because I'm a night person, and she's a morning person. So, like, which I can get up in the morning. I can do it. If you set my alarm, if there's a reason for me to get up, I'll get up. But it's like, as soon as I wake up, it's like, good morning, good morning. It's like, it's like all those memes about don't talk to me till I've had my first cup of coffee. It's like that times a million. It's like, I'm up, just goddamn. Let me get used to the concept of being conscious.
There was some Facebook meme where someone asked, like, how did morning people get the world to revolve around their schedule? And someone else answered, the rest of us were asleep.
So yeah, that's that's the biggest thing that happened in the past week. I also I signed up for that course that I mentioned previously, the Phil Tomato drawing course, and I signed up or I signed in for one of his Twitch streams the other day, and I got to kind of give a shout out to him. He obviously, by looking at his work, he's a huge fan of old school, like, Cartoon Network shows. Well, I mean, by old school, I mean like everything leading up through, like, the early 2010s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I mentioned to him that I worked at Cartoon Network, and he thought that was pretty cool, and he was asking me some questions about it. He lives out in the Philippines, so he does these like 4 or 5 hour drawing sessions on Twitch like 3 times a week. So I'm gonna check in on those. Again, use that for an excuse to get up early and start working on my animatic. And yes, I actually have been working on my animatic.
Nice.
And I'll try to explain this briefly. It's like I'm trying to figure out a balance between, I need to draw the characters well enough so that I feel satisfied with, like, oh yeah, that looks like them. They're the right size, they're the right proportion. I'm getting the emotions across of what I'm trying to do with them, versus doing completed 100% finished drawings, because I need to keep it rough so that I can get through the entire thing as a rough pass before I go back and, do a bunch of other changes or decide, like, oh, I'm going to clean up this scene or whatever. And my habit always at Cartoon Network was I would get told, draw them rough, and I would draw the first one rough, and the second one rough, and the third one I would add a little bit of detail, and by the fourth one I'm drawing completely finished drawings, and I just could not stop myself, because that was just my nature, and I'm trying to police myself on that. It's like, no, this isn't the time to be super detailed, it's the time to be general and gestural and just get it done, because if I can get the rough version, the sooner I get a rough version done, the sooner I have something I can show somebody that's a version of, some version of the completed thing I'm trying to do. Because if in 4 weeks from now I happen to meet somebody from some network and they were like, oh, let me hear about your show, or let me see what you got. It'd be better for me to have a completely finished rough version than a thoroughly detailed out, like, first 1/4 of it done.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So yeah, it's me trying to figure out that balance so that I can feel happy with what I'm doing, but without getting too into the going down rabbit holes of perfectionism. So,
in the words of the Fountains of Wayne song they did for the Robot soundtrack, don't tell me what you're gonna do or what you want to do, tell me what you already did. So, anyway.
And that's the most obscure Mel Brooks movie we're going to mention today.
Yeah, exactly.
unless we challenge ourselves to name an even more obscure Mel Brooks movie.
I think I know how we're going to do exactly that. But
anyway, so what have you been up to, Devo Spice?
Mostly I've been working a lot on my Patreon and getting it ready for the migration over to starting to charge people monthly versus the per episode thing that I had been doing since I launched
I
it.
have been procrastinating that. Yay!
I finally, I actually spent some time and focused on it. I set out a survey last week of people. Thank you to everyone who filled it out. It was actually very helpful. And I settled on what my tiers are going to be, what the pricing is going to be. I've been working with Patreon to actually get it migrated. And They said the migration was going to happen in May of 2025. And I believe they charge people on the first of the month, so it may have happened. I don't know. I haven't heard back yet. So
I heard they were waiting until October of 25 before it would be like mandatory for everyone.
Yeah. You have to do it by I believe November is the deadline.
Right.
But I wanted to make changes to my Patreon anyway, and because I was doing the per episode sign up, like I couldn't have any new people sign up or something like that, or I couldn't make any changes to the tiers. That's what it was. So I was like, but I want to make changes to the tiers, and like, yeah, not till you change over to the monthly subscription model. I'm like, fine. So I did all that. Once that migration happens, I do want to make a couple of changes, just mostly to the descriptions, and I'm going to be adding one lower level tier and getting that all done and out of the way. But all the hard work is done at this point. I'm just kind of waiting for it to happen, and then I can make those last edits to the pages. But I've started, some of my new offerings. One of the things is a weekly edition of The Insider. So I did the first one yesterday. According to the poll, not a whole lot of people wanted this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it this month and see how it goes. If it's not a whole lot of extra work for me, then I'll keep doing it. If it turns out nobody's listening to it, then I'm not going to bother, and I'll go back to the monthly episodes. I also posted episode 4 of Random Acts of Horror to the same feed the other day. And if you saw the YouTube video, I did fix the audio on the YouTube video. The very first clip was muted for some reason. And so that's out. If you haven't seen that, that should be showing up in the feed soon. So check that out. In Offspring news, we had a swim banquet for Darren for his swim team last Saturday, and which was, man, they had really good French toast, which I'm usually not a huge fan of, but this was really good French toast. It was like thin sliced, but anyway, and lots of bacon. I had bacon. Oh man, was it good. And then today I picked him up from school. He's done for the year, so he'll be hanging out for the rest of the summer and going back in the fall. And
life is just bacon and a series of lesser non-bacon related experiences. That's really all life is.
It really is, yeah. And I think last week I mentioned that movie I'm in, My Boss Is My Secret Sperm Donor, is out to watch. And it's available on a platform called Reel Shorts, REEL Shorts. And the way they do it is they break it up into like 1 to 2 minute episodes, and the first like 10 or 20 are free to watch, and then there's a paywall, and if you want to watch the rest of it, you have to pay whatever it is. I don't even know. So yesterday I sent out an update to the Patreon backers about stuff, and I was like, hey, here's the link to this movie if you want to watch it. And I pulled up the link, and 13 million people have watched this thing since last week.
Wow.
I had no idea Reel Shorts was that popular. Like, I don't know anybody who uses it. I've asked all my kids. They've never heard of it. But 13 million people have seen this thing.
Damn.
Like, I could not believe it. So I'm going to take a clip from my scene in that movie and put it in my reel, and got to get my reel updated and stuff. So, but yeah, that was like what? So.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm sure I had nothing to do with it, but all right. So Tony, what have you been up to?
Oh, just procrastinating editing the podcast as always.
Of course, yes.
That's what's going on with me. I actually just closed up the request lines for Patreon Request Month, which is finally happening in May after months of delays, which I am very sorry for. And I'm almost finished editing the next episode, which will probably drop sometime next week on the first Patreon Request Month episode of the year will be on The Boys, the Sherman Brothers story, the 2009 documentary about the famous late great Sherman Brothers who wrote all the songs for Mary Poppins and most of the songs from The Jungle Book and the great Satan itself. It's a Small World, etc. And it's a really great documentary. Sydney Agnew, Ryan Hipp, and Veronica Vext were my 3 guests on that episode. So look for that, hopefully next week. And I've also posted the randomizer selection and first 9 minutes of the next episode after that, but I'm not going to spoil what that is. You'll just have to become a patron. I've posted that to my Patreon patrons. So if you want to find out what, it's too good to spoil, but let's just, all I'm going to say is, hoo boy, it's a doozy.
Okay.
I very much enjoyed all of the ballyhoo and shenanigans that went on when Doggins finally did his guest choice.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
that was great.
Nice. The Sign of Zorro episode. That was a fun episode. That's the most recent one that's been posted publicly. So go check that one out.
All right. Alchav, what have you been up to?
Oh, was I supposed to do things? I knew I was forgetting something. What? Since
you were
when?
supposed to send Elon Musk a list of the 5 things that you did.
Right.
I don't know, what time frame are we talking about here? What have I been up to since when?
Well, I don't remember the last time you were on the podcast. It may not have been a video show at the time. So
I was 2021. That was 4 years ago.
Okay, so
let's
yeah,
see.
I guess it was. Yeah, it was video.
Well, then I guess what I've been doing since 2021. I've been playing a lot of video game randomizers and adding features to video game randomizers. I believe last I checked, I've contributed 69,000 lines of code and data to the Archipelago Multi-World Randomizer software. That's
Holy
been
crap.
my main hobby since I discovered it late 2020.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, and I learned Python by reading the source code to that program.
All right. I've never worked in Python. My wife has, but I never have.
Yeah. See, I got married a year ago.
Congrats.
Yes.
And I've been doing a lot of working and sleeping.
Working and sleeping, yes. I'm doing a lot of working, not a whole lot of sleeping, which sucks, but I'm trying. So, you posted a song.
What?
Yes. Give us a quick intro. We will give it a listen.
A quick intro. This is just an important PSA on a danger you might need to be aware of.
Indeed. All right, here is Cactus by Soggy Potato Chips.
From the desert, it came to live in a vase in my domain. Tall it stands, plump and green, biggest spine you've ever seen. It catches your eye from across the room, and now it might spell a painful doom. For in your mind, a plan is born, the worst idea you've ever formed. There is nothing for you to gain.
Okay, so what in God's name inspired this song?
You know, there's kind of a very long story of various ideas that over time led to this. I actually wrote that music for a completely different song that I was considering releasing as a part of a side project that wouldn't even be Soggy Potato Chips, because it was kind of more of a nerdcore kind of song. It wasn't really a funny song, and just wasn't really the kind of thing I normally do. It was about a particular aspect of an MMORPG, and I had written about 80% of the lyrics and then kind of sat on it, as I tend to do, and then changes to that game happened that made a lot of what I had written completely irrelevant, and I'm just like, well, there goes that. I took too long. This is gone. This was in 2017. I'm trying to just come up with, like, I didn't want this music to go to waste, but just didn't know what to do with it. And there was a point, I think it was I had a FuMPFest concert coming up, and I had this idea for like a spoken word bit I was just gonna do, and it was just gonna be, I was just gonna say this, and now a list of reasons you shouldn't put a cactus in your butt. And this just popped into my head, like, because I just had this idea of, like, I was just gonna list every reason I could think of other than the obvious reason that it would kill you. But then I'm like, I just thought, I should just like come, I've written so much music that I've not done anything with, and I'm like, I should just find something I could like play in the background while doing this bit. And I'm just like going through all of my music, and I get to this track, and actually, I think I tried to find my old lyrics for that song I had written. They seem to be completely gone. I like scanned my computer, like 3 different drives for like text that I remember. I only remember a few lines of that original song, but the very first line was "From the shadows I come," and I played that music, and just from the desert it came, or it was like my first thought was from the desert it comes, but I'm just like, it just somehow it just all came to me, and that spoken word bit, I was just started writing it as a song, and originally it had a lot of that idea of like, I'm going to list off different reasons you shouldn't do this. And unfortunately, I'm going to say fortunately, a lot of ideas I had, I could not make it scan. Mm-hmm. For those of you that might not have noticed or might not have any idea what I'm talking about, this song, most of the song is in 5/4 time, and the choruses are in 13/8 time. I have never done a song like this before. So like, I would think of a line, and it would come to me as a 4/4, and I'm like trying to make it scan with this song, and I couldn't do it. So a lot of ideas just kept getting thrown out, and it was a long time. The kind of the punchline of the whole song was missing for a long time too. For a long time, I was trying to think of, it was just going to be like, I was going to imply that this was like I had done this before, and that's why I'm advising you not to do it. So it's kind of just like an added, like, just an extra joke in there.
Yeah.
But when I came up with, oh no, I'm trying to stop you from doing this because I want to do it, and that became the punchline. I ended up taking out a lot of that, like these other reasons you shouldn't do it, and made it more a focus of like, no, you need to not do this because you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Because but you know, because I need to do it. So
yeah, so you did perform this at FuMPFest in 2023, and in fact, the picture that I put up while I was playing the song was a picture from your concert. I don't know if it was you doing this song or not. It was a picture I took, but it was a picture from your concert in 2023. And I remember Chris gave you a shout out on stage because this was the only song that he heard all weekend that was not in 4/4 time. And I remember when you were playing this song, and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting time signature. And I caught the 5/4, and then you got to the chorus, and I was like, I don't know what the hell that is. And then Chris called, 13/8. Of course, it's 13/8. Yeah, there we go. All right, yeah.
there were actually many points in time where that song had more time signatures than that. There were a lot of other parts. You know, the music, besides the time signature, the music is very simple and repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
I kept trying to add other parts, and just it always sounded jarring, and like I'm just like enforced that I'm like making this unusual rhythm time signature. And so I kind of hated having to throw all that away, but it was, you know, I had a 6/4 part. I had I think that, you know, and there actually, it was for a long time, it was part of my plan. If I couldn't get a line to scan right, I was just going to throw in another beat.
Throw in a couple extra syllables into the line. Yeah, we're familiar with that process.
But you know, it was just, I got too much of it done without doing that. I didn't want to just do that in like one or two spots.
So here's a challenge for you. Write a song where the first line is in 2/4, the second line is in 3/4, the third line is in 4/4, the next line is in 5/4, then it goes into 6/4 and 7/4, and just keep doing that.
By the end of the song, it's just 247/4.
Yeah. You can do it.
I mean, you're carrying on a proud tradition of songs that were originally other songs. I mean, you know, the Beatles' Yesterday was, oddly enough, originally a song about shoving cactuses up your butt. So
yeah, who knew?
And when your album comes out, you can call it Trying Times.
Cactuses up my butt. Like that. Anyway.
Dun dun dun. That was a good one, Luke. That took me a second, but that was good.
Oh.
The joke had to go all the way to New Jersey, bounce all the way back to Koreatown,
California,
across the country. There's the lag for the week.
Yep. So are you planning on are you working on a new album or anything, or are you just still doing this like as you feel like it?
You know, I announced a new album in what was it, 2012? And
you're getting there.
I don't know if I take songs I did over 10 years ago and slap them together into stuff I'm writing now. Apparently, we had 4 years between the last song and this one.
Yeah, Mustard needs to be on an official album. Mustard is a masterpiece. So
glad you feel that way.
Mustard piece. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be writing songs. The ideas just don't come to me like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I kind of just work on stuff when I feel motivated to. So I'm not I wouldn't say I'm working on an album right now.
Okay. Would you ever consider like trying to rewrite that MMORPG song? Or is that just dead and buried at this point?
I hate that I can't find the lyrics. I don't know if I'd want to try doing it all over again.
I had to do that with A Christmas Tale because I had that song written, and then I don't remember. I was in college, I want to say it was, and I went to Atlantic City with my grandmother and my great uncle. And because my grandmother was a big gambler and she liked taking me, so I went. It was her money. I didn't care. So I brought my notebook with me on the bus so I could do some writing on the bus ride down. On the way back, I left it on the bus. So I lost the entire notebook, and we tried calling the bus company and nothing. The only song in there that I hadn't recorded yet was A Christmas Tale, and I couldn't remember all of it. So I as quickly as I could, I wrote down as much as I remembered, but most of like the second half of that song was new. It was rewritten, and the other jokes that I had originally come up with are just gone. And it still kills me because I know there was good stuff in there that I couldn't remember.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. In the days before computers, we had to write things down on paper. So, yeah. So, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
I have absolutely nothing. The Archipelago Multi-World Randomizer. I'm not explaining what that is. We'll be here all day.
Google it.
Archipelago.gg.
Okay. All right, are you going to stick around for the rest of the show, or are you taking off?
Well, I took half my day off of work for this. I'm here.
All right, dude. All right, happy to have you. All right, let's do some news.
This is the FuMP.
Cause she said, baby, there's so much more, just wait. Come on in, everybody. My wife's into 5 ways, and I was excited, but this feels wrong. If I had it my way, we'd have invited some girls along. I fell head over heels for Billy Squire and the heavenly harmony of Billy's choir. I'd get it on with Bob Seger too, just as long as Bob Seger too.
That's the Funny Music Project at thefump.com. THEFUMP.com.
Second week of deer camp, drinking the beer.
Open up the door, it's Dave.
Man, Dave's not here.
Time for funny music news. Something.
In the news, Canadian Famous is now available on streaming. This is the latest album by the Arrogant Worms, now available on your favorite streaming platform if you haven't already picked it up on their Bandcamp page. It is still available on their Bandcamp page, which is arrogantworms1.bandcamp.com for some reason. But check it out, it's a good album. Weird Al Yankovic appeared on Scam or Sam with Samantha Bee, which you can watch on Samantha Bee's YouTube channel. Just search for that.
Point of order, the show is called Choice Words with Samantha Bee. The episode was called Scam or Sam.
Thank you. Yes, so Google that. I have not had a chance to watch it yet, so I don't know what else to say about it. So
I've watched almost all of it, and it's a really good interview.
Cool.
I will say, if you saw... Okay, this is going into... Never mind. But a few years ago, Al was on an episode of Club Random with Bill Maher, and it was a fucking disaster because Bill Maher is an idiot. So basically, if you want an antidote to that horrible Bill Maher interview, watch the Samantha Bee interview because they actually cover a lot of the same ground, but Samantha Bee is a much better interviewer than Bill Maher is. So there you go.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I am planning on watching it. I just haven't had a chance to. All right, the Uncle Floyd radio show is on hiatus at the moment. Apparently, Uncle Floyd had a stroke, and show's on hiatus until he can recover. The Tuesday night live streams of the show This Was the Uncle Floyd Show with Scott Gordon will continue, and while Floyd is recovering, Scott says he will be going to interview him for episodes of the Uncle Floyd podcast, available on your favorite streaming service. So we wish him a speedy recovery. And tomorrow is Bandcamp Friday, a great day to support your favorite artists on Bandcamp, such as the Arrogant Worms at arrogantworms1.bandcamp.com. So tomorrow, May 2nd, Bandcamp will be waiving their revenue share fees, so more money goes to the artist. All right. Anybody got anything else before tour dates?
I don't think so.
Did I say Dr. Floyd?
I think so.
Did I? I meant Uncle Floyd. If I said Dr. Floyd,
No,
I
I
apologize.
think you said Uncle Floyd.
I think I said Uncle Floyd. Yeah.
One of those.
Alvarant in the chat is saying Uncle Floyd or Dr. Floyd. I don't know if I misspoke or he's just making a joke, but it's
Whatever.
Uncle Floyd is the one. All right.
Count Floyd.
Yes. All right. Tour dates. On Sundays in Nashville, Tennessee, Steve Goody hosting at the Bluebird. Sundays online, Two Sleeps. Mondays online, Steve Goody and Brad Tassel at virtualcomedyshow.com. Mondays and Tuesdays online, Bill Larkin. On the 2nd in Newport, Oregon, Steve Goody. On the 2nd in Oakland, California, Phil Johnson and Roadside Attraction. On the 2nd in Youngstown, Ohio, Carla Ulbrich. The 2nd through the 4th in Des Moines, Iowa, Mikey Mason. On the 3rd in Boise, Idaho, Steve Goody. On the 9th in Atlanta, Georgia, Phil Johnson and Roadside Attraction. And on the 11th in Bergenfield, New Jersey, Carla Ulbrich. All right. That is it for news and tour dates and whatnot. Luke!
Yes?
Give us a quick intro to your song. We will play it and talk about it.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say to Tony, could you imagine if Joe Flaherty had done a Count Floyd podcast? Just be like, inside the coffin with, it's scary. There's not a lot of room in here. I can't see. Anyway.
I just love to see the whole podcast network of SCTV characters. Bob and Doug would have eventually gotten a podcast. I'm kind of surprised.
Absolutely.
Moranis and Thomas haven't started a Bob and Doug podcast yet.
Yeah. Pod and Doug.
Yeah.
So, all right, here's the short version.
We're turning your name into the podcast pun.
So, the short version is Too Long Didn't Read. It's an updated remake of a Beastie Boys parody about Dr. Menno and Whimsical Will.
All right, here is The Doctor and William 2025 version by the great Luke Ski, featuring Devo Spice and Tony Goldmark.
Because playing funny music's what he's all about.
We take your internet server, turn it inside out.
Living in dementia is mental, not physical.
With Dr. Demento and Will getting whimsical.
At your beck and call, they will do what you please.
Just submit a request and I'll play Dead Puppies.
Doc has 54
years and counting on the air.
Will's got 38,
But what do we care?
The funniest people.
They get top billing.
I get more laughs from the Doctor and William.
Fire Will. Fire Will. Fire Will. Fire Will. Fire Will. Fire Will. Fire that Will.
Demented news is on every week, and Will's reporting the cavorting of
every free.
Even Cropfield Hedgehog.
all punny and witty.
At the land, dementia,
in
Lakewood City.
Will's at home
Playing his Sega.
taking out a girlie by the name of Enya. His heroes dressed like a bat, but don't you ask him where's the bathroom at.
The news is always funny.
And there is no doubt.
down, mister.
Hang on to them hats and glasses.
Are we starting this again?
Because he's got more sound bites than CNN.
Most funniest people.
They get top billing.
I get more laughs from the Doctor and William.
Pico and Sepulveda. 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 Pico and Sepulveda.
Homecoming shooting and carrot juice drinking. Capital stepping, warming Stevens is streaking. Tom Lawrence, free parents, Dan Freeberg does Elvis.
Fooling.
Vestibuling.
And Babu Fonz Bulbous.
Baha and a bucket of fish
And
heads.
if I wasn't Monty Python, my name would be Two Sheds.
Say
Georgian.
time.
Warpin playing every big hit.
The other DJs sound like shaving
The
cream.
funniest people.
They get top billing.
I get more laughs from the Doctor and William.
That's okay, Willie. That's okay, William. That's okay.
Second week of deer camp, drinking the beer.
Open up the door, it's Dave.
Man, Dave's not here.
TheFunk.com.
Funny women and men.
Had the first 6 tracks on this month's top 10.
Number 4 is
Elijah.
and 3.
Mudda Hello.
With Fat at
number 2 and number 1 is as follows.
The Dr. and William by the Great Luke Ski with Devo, Chris, Ian, Shoebox, and Tony.
Most funniest people.
They get top billing.
I get more laughs
From the Dr. and William.
He has no patience.
And no penicillin.
Just thousands of tracks
from the Dr. and William.
With surfing old meaning.
And popsicle filling.
The demented news
With the Dr. and William.
The official Facebook.
Demento group has a zillion.
People posting their love
for the Dr. and William.
Bugs Bunniest people.
What's up, Doc?
I get more laughs from the Dr. and William.
Simpsoniest people.
Whimsical Will here.
I get more news from the Dr. and William.
Simpletoniest people.
Like Spike in the City Slickers.
Funniest people.
Like Homer and Jethro Man.
Sunniest people.
Like the Bobs and the Foreman.
Accordioniest people.
Will Yankovic.
Records funniest people.
This is the right way to parody.
Number oneiest people.
The Beastie Boys.
The runniest, punniest, funniest people.
I hope this is a song that he'll play.
And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic, and we're putting it on wax. It's the new style. Woo, 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 woo.
Oh no,
So
Luke
good.
evaporate. Oh, there he is.
So good.
I ran off because I realized why don't I start at the end by pointing out I spent about $45 on Amazon buying various noisemakers.
It was worth it.
This one, yeah. So there's this one, the train whistle. There's the classic party type of thing. There's the cowbells.
Never have too much of that.
And this thing,
Yes.
I wanted to spring on you. Only 1 month left, folks.
And then one of these Weezer whatevers. And then a slide whistle. This is a pretty good quality slide whistle. So that's great. And then I'm not going to go put water in it, but this is the thing that if you put water in it and blow through it, it makes that bird sound like, that you hear. And then this thing, and when I ordered this, I thought it was like a package of 3 or 4 because the picture had 3 or 4 of them, and I ordered it no, it was just one. So I paid like $4 for this individual thing. So
Hey, what do you want for $4? Rambling.
So yeah, back when I did the first version of this song in '97, I was living in Kansas City, and there was I think the company still exists, but I don't think the brick and mortar store does anymore. It was a U.S. toy company, and I could go there, and it was mainly a place for like teachers and educators and stuff to get all these like supplies for classrooms and stuff. But they would get all those type of things because like to get that bird thing, I had to order like a package of 24 of them just to get the one that I wanted. So. Back in those days, I could just go to that store and they would just have like a bin out, and I could individually grab one of each of these things and have them. I've tried to find a store like that in Los Angeles that I could go to, and I guess they just don't exist anymore. And the U.S. Toy Company, I think, pretty much only exists as like a thing you can order stuff from, just like every other company, through the mail. So, anyway. So that I was just very happy with how all of those sound effects came out in the final mix, in particular the slide whistle. Because like right as the song is fading out, I end with like, and it's like right as the fade out happens. So anyway, so to save time, I figured I would just read my description from from the FuMP page, just to cut through a lot of the details. So one of the most iconic side one, track one songs in the history of Generation X is the first song on the legendary 1986 Diamond certified debut album by the Beastie Boys, Licensed to Ill, titled Rhymin' and Stealin'. Far less iconic is the Great Luke Ski's 1997 certified plastic sophomore album, Shadows of the Bunghole. For that album, I had the oh-so-clever idea to begin the album with a parody of Rhymin' and Stealin', with the gag being that if someone had put the disc in and started playing it, another person nearby, having heard the album, would be fooled into thinking that the album playing was Licensed to Ill, and then when the first sound bites and lyrics dropped, they would be overcome with a feeling of jocular bamboozlement. Whether or not that ever occurred in real life is unknown and assumed to not ever have actually happened. So, do you guys think that actually happened at any point?
Not to me.
I know I have played that album. I don't know that I ever played it in a place where other people may have heard it like loud enough for them to think, oh, that's the Beastie Boys. Like I played it in my car, and I played it mostly in my basement apartment like that, because that's where I was living in Rochester at the time.
Yeah.
So probably not.
So it's like I had this idea way back then, thinking like, oh, this is so clever, not really realizing that the chances of that ever actually happening are so slim. So anyway, back to my description. That is way too long. After nearly 2 years of finally being able to listen to the Dr. Demento show on the actual radio, I felt the need to pay tribute to the show, to Dr. Demento, a.k.a. Barrett Hanson himself, and as well as the weekly purveyor of the demented news on the show, Whimsical Will Simpson. So that led me to make a parody of the aforementioned Beastie song, titling mine The Doctor and William. I call this type of song a forced parody, in which there is no clever wordplay or other logical or parallel connection between the original song and the subject matter being discussed in the parody, making it obvious that the author, in this case me, just really, really, really wanted to parody that song about that subject, despite the fact that it doesn't make any sense to do so intellectually. So, having copped to that, I still really liked what I did with it, with my other MCs making up my Beastie parody trio being Jay Styles, also known as Jason Stahl, my best friend since the 4th grade, and DJ Scrabble, my brother, JT Sinkowski. The Good Doctor never played this track on his show, but Whimsical Will did report on it during the July 6th, 1997 edition of the Demented News. So, two things. One, I put it up on archive.org, the actual full episode of the Demented News from July 6, 1997. So if you go to thefump.com and go to this song's page, there's a link there if you want to hear that entire Demented News episode, because some of you listening may have never actually listened to Dr. Demento's show or heard what the Demented News sounds like to have a comparison. So this would be a perfect chance for you to listen to an episode of the Demented News. You can also hear some of them at whimsicalwill.com. But the other thing I wanted to say is, this is far from the only forced parody I ever did. Off the top of my head, my Weird Al tribute song, Quite a Man for an Al Fan, I think is most definitely a forced parody.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could think of some more if I thought about it for a while, but...
I think we've all been guilty of that, Luke.
Yeah, we got a few. I've definitely got a few.
So, okay.
Al's done a few forced parodies.
Has.
I mean, what does Yabba Dabba Do have to do with Give It Away? I mean,
yeah. I mean, it also kind of disappointed me that he didn't say yabba dab, dabba do now. I mean, people still would have gotten the joke, and actually kept it in rhythm with the thing. But whatever.
Well, it worked.
Okay, where was I on the thing? Here it is. Okay. 27 years later, and that's another thing I like, is the fact that when I made the original version, it happened to be 27 years into Dr. Demento doing his show, and now for the sake of this new thing that we did, it was another 27 years later, which led to 54. So
you're just going to keep recording this every 27 years.
Every 27 years, we get a new version of this song, sure.
You'll do another one in 2052, I'm sure.
With Alexan and Devo's kids and Shoebox's kids.
Yeah.
So anyway, 27 years later, an impending celebration of Dr. Demento's birthday made me think it would be fun to give this track an update and perform it live at the celebration with the help of some friends. So I commissioned Professor Shy Guy, a.k.a. Brant Cooley, to make a new backing track and also mix the final studio version so that I, the great Luke Ski, doing the King Ad Rock parts, along with Devo Spice doing the MCA parts, and Tony Goldmark doing the Mike D parts, and also along with the chanting assistance of Chris Mazzalesta of Power Salad, Insane Ian, and Shoebox of Worm Quartet. We performed it for Dr. Demento to the jocular bamboozlement to everyone in attendance. So, the thing that's kind of, not really said there is, there's a couple other things, and I actually said this to Steve on his because I popped in to watch his virtual comedy show the other day. Part of the reason I did that was basically out of jealousy because the previous year's celebration, Steve got up with Grandpa Choco and Toilet Tea Paper and did some song that they had just come up with in tribute to Dr. D's birthday, and like a week later or two, Dr. D played the recording of that live song on the Dr. Demento show, and I'm like, I did a Dr. Demento show song back in 1997, and it never got played. Come to think of it, a whole lot of people in the past 5 or so years have done Dr. Demento tribute songs, and he's played all of those. He's never played mine. That kind of, makes me super jealous and bitter, like I shouldn't be, but I am anyway. So, and also I was out at Kalani's place taking care of her, and I didn't really have the time or whatever to work on any of my own personal projects because I was taking care of her. So kind of in a convergence of two, different types of me being bitter and annoyed. I'm like, wait a minute. What if I could get someone to make me a backing track for the Doctor and William and see if the other FuMP peoples would be willing to do this song with me live, and then we could do it live for Dr. D and remind him this song exists, and maybe it'll get played on the show, besides the whole actual heartfelt tributeness of paying tribute to Dr. D. And so it was born out of me sort of acting out and wanting to do something because I was at Kalani's and just sitting there going like, I can't make anything stuff. There's, so, so yeah. That's when I started a little Facebook chat group with the 5 other people involved and said, hey, anyone want to do the thing? And Tony and Devo and Ian all said they were interested, and I decided to go with Tony and Devo as my main other 2 guys for a few reasons. One, I like it when Tony Goldmark does funny music.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't do too much often anymore.
Not anymore, no. But it's fun when it's relatively low effort for me to do so. So
yeah, in fact, people who I showed the video to, I guess mainly Kalani I'm talking about here, noticed that you were the one not reading off of the lyric sheet. So they were like,
yeah. Which I will talk about, but But I'll let you finish first.
So there was that. And there was also the notion of thinking about back to the Alcon 98, where me, Tony, Devo, and Chris Mezzalesta were the first acts to perform at Alcon, we performed at the first Alcon, and we also performed at the 2 Alcons that followed, and I just kind of felt like, this song is from that era of my life, so I wanted to have the people from that era of my life be the other vocalists,
And Chris wasn't even a scheduled performer. He just performed a song, I think the Chemical Engineering song is part of the talent show at Alcon 98. So the 3 of us, we were the only booked scheduled performers on the schedule and everything.
Yeah. So. And then what was the other thing I was about to say? Oh, and then the other thing is, and I did say this to Ian, there are quite a few songs at the FuMP that are Luke and Devo and Ian. There's a bunch. We could do a whole album. That should be next year's April Fool's album, the Luke, Devo, and Ian album. Okay. All the songs that have all 3 of us on it. So it's like, let's switch it up a little bit, So anyway, so we concocted this plan, and I started figuring out stuff. And of course, I wanted to update the lyrics because a lot of the references in the original version, are specifically talking about him being on the radio, and I mentioned the Funny 5 instead of the top 10, and just things like that. So I'm like, okay, I need to rewrite parts of this song. So I went forth and did that. I thought, for the sake of making sure Chris got a specific thing in there for you could hear his voice, I had him say his "okay" at the end of the song. Because the original line didn't really have a joke outro to it, so let's just throw Chris in there doing his bit. So when we performed it live, first of all, I screwed up because instead of playing the proper backing track like I was supposed to when we rehearsed it the night before, I accidentally played the demo version that had a much softer volume to the music. And that really makes me angry with myself when I go through all this effort to make something happen, and then I screw it up at the last, like the very last thing when it's about to premiere for everyone, and then I screw it up. Like at FuMPFest, when I went to start performing Lower Decks Keep It Moving for the first time, and I started the song, and it was the MacBook thing had it like 30 seconds in instead of backed up to the beginning like it was supposed to be, and I completely blew my own thing. So I hate when I screw up like that. It makes me so furiously angry at myself, especially, anyway.
Why haven't you fired that bastard?
I don't know. Something about, I don't know.
Nepotism is what it is.
So speaking of updating the lyrics, I was curious why you didn't update some of the songs mentioned at the end. Like you still mentioned Elijah, which is a song from back then. I don't think has been played in a very long time.
I still love Elijah.
Oh, it's a great song.
I still think it's a funny song.
You mentioned the Foremen who aren't together anymore. Like I'm surprised you didn't mention like Wolves of Glendale or update it to.
Well, if I'm gonna do that, then I'm gonna add another verse to Dementia Revolution. You know what I mean? It's like to me, fair. That's the song where we're going to add a whole new verse for everything that's happened since 2007. But yeah, I just kind of felt like, is it really still a cover song if I change all the references? Or not a cover, a remake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, just to finish what I wrote, in conclusion, for the millionth time, thank you to Barrett Hansen, a.k.a. Dr. Demento, and Whimsical Will Simpson for bringing so much joy, laughter, and found family together with your decades upon decades of demented news, mad music, and crazy comedy. We owe it all to you, and we will never ever forget to stay demented. And then I said, will the good doctor play the Doctor in William 2025 edition on his show? Perhaps he might if the fans request for him to play it, either from the Dr. Demento Show request page, which is at drdemento.com, DRDEMENTO.com, or post it with the word request at the official Dr. Demento Show Facebook page. So, yeah, those are all the things with all the words. So yeah, before I go on talking about specific things with the song, do you guys have any other questions or whatever?
What time signature is that song in?
It's 4/4 because it's the easiest time signature in the world.
It's actually 16/16 because no,
it's a
same
basic
shit,
bitch. Same
thing. But the only thing I'm going to say is, you know how we say that Alcon 98 is a fixed point in time?
Yeah.
This weekend, I think, is another fixed point in time. The Dr. Demento party, the Sulu party, everything that went along with it was this whole weekend is another fixed point in time for us. Absolutely, anyway.
Yeah, because oh, sorry, go ahead, Tony.
No. Finish. I was going to go into a whole thing.
Because basically, I think it it's just all of us, racing around trying to coordinate all these things that we're all doing, because basically and by the way, as you thanked in your video, we should thank also Sulu and Christopher Bay for, being the people who put these gatherings together for Dr. D.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it's like, it kind of turned into like the whole thing, the party at the restaurant. It's like now there seems to be, a talent show aspect to it, at least to some degree. But then there's also Sulu doing the party at her place the next night, with Steve bringing all of his stuff that he brings when he tours and does the live Steve show. And based on how things had gone the previous year, they said, okay, well, he's going to have Shoebox open for him for 20 minutes, and then Steve's going to do like a 45-minute set. And then after that, we'll let anyone else who wants to do a song, like, take turns each doing an individual song, so that it doesn't turn into like, the never-ending round robin from hell, in the valley. So yeah, so that was cool because it gave me, I got up, I did Snoopy the dog, and Michael Lestat Cat was, filming a lot of those performances and putting them up on YouTube and stuff, and it was just super cool and a lot of fun. And there was a big piano right there, so we had Bill Larkin and Chris Mezzalesta on the guitar, and I think Steve got on the accordion, so we were all doing Shaving Cream together. It was like just amazing. So it was super cool. So I'm glad that those kind of things can happen. Like the only people who weren't there were like Carrie, and I'd probably throw in Bonnie Gordon, but Bonnie's the busiest woman in Hollywood. Yeah. So but yeah, it's like it was kind of uncanny that, like, wow, so many of us are here. Also, as a side, you need to make a note. Add this to your notes, Devo. You need to start harassing Bill Larkin about posting the song at the FuMP. Because we took a quick group photo of everybody at the FuMP, and we were trying to keep it to just those who had, either posted on the main page or had been, on the sideshow a bunch in the past or whatever. So it's like, this is the fun. And then Bill Larkin is like, oh, can I be in this photo too? Because he's performed at FuMPFest, but he hasn't posted any tracks to the FuMP. And then you specifically said to him, if you're in this photo, you have to promise to post one of your songs to the FuMP.com so that it makes sense that you're in the picture. So, so yeah. Well, let's see. What else can I talk about with this song?
I could launch in with some stuff.
Sure, go ahead.
So, the reason I volunteered to be on this track, there's a couple reasons why I volunteered to be on this track, even though I'm kind of done with comedy music, aside from the occasional project like this. Well, number one, Luke, when you did your Mel Brooks song, "It's Tough to Be," or "It's Good to Be the King,"
it's tough to be a bug.
It's tough to be the king. It's tough to be a god. Yes. When you did "It's Good to Be the King," I don't think, due to stupid reasons we don't have to get into, I don't think you and I were speaking to each other, so I wasn't on that track. So I'm like, well, damn it, there were no Jews on Luke's Mel Brooks song. There had better be at least one Jew on his Beastie Boys song. There had fucking better. So
the FuMP has a distinct lack of Jews.
Yes, exactly.
Or at least it used to. I believe we have a decent amount now.
And I've literally got gold in my last name, so there you go. So there was that, but also, and this ties into why I wasn't reading. I didn't have to read the lyrics off the sheet. Doing this song was kind of a dream come true for me, like from childhood, because here's the thing. So, like we said, the three of us first met at Alcon 98, way back in the 1900s, way back in the fucking previous millennium when the Earth's crust was still warm. That's when the three of us met each other, and I don't know if I bought your first two albums or if I just traded them a copy of my album for it or whatever, but listening to those two albums, obviously it was mostly like pop culture stuff, and not all of it was pop culture I was familiar with at the time. I had seen very little Star Trek at the time, so like at least a good quarter of both albums were just completely over my head. So I gravitated towards the tracks about topics I was familiar with, such as the Dr. Demento Show. So the Doctor and William became one of my favorite tracks of yours from those first couple albums. And I wasn't even listening to the show weekly at that point because it wasn't on the air in San Francisco anymore, but the good doctor had sent me CD copies of the shows where he played my songs, where he played like "I Know You're a Fish," the first song I ever got played on Dr. D, back when I was fucking 12. Good God, what happened to me? But anyway, so I listened to those shows, and I'd also had been listening to the Demented News every week because, Barry hadn't gotten to the point where his shows were online on a weekly basis, but Will had started posting the episodes of the Demented News to his website every week, and so I was listening to that there. So I was very familiar with both the Doctor and William. So I loved that song, but I had no idea what it was parodying. Because I was not familiar enough with the Beastie Boys. I got that it was a Beastie Boys parody.
Yeah.
Because on those first two albums, you also didn't really have liner notes. I think you just had a little slip, like a little slip thing. So it didn't
can I explain really quick for the people?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I put my first album out in the fall of '96, and it was on 100 cassettes, and I basically, to save money, made Devo's getting them. All right.
Okay, here is...
Oh, you saved them.
I still have them. Yeah, here is Shadows of the Bunghole. That's the extent of the liner notes, is just basically the list of songs, guest vocals, and then, the Gnome Productions address. So,
which I'm sure is still valid today.
Yeah. So, and so basically, I made those. Well, okay, let me step backwards. So when I made the cassettes, what I did was I, literally went to Kinko's and made a double-sided photocopy onto orange paper, and then cut them out and made the 100 inlays. And in fact, I even numbered them and put them in. And gave them to the place that was, copying up the cassettes so that they could put them inside the cases with the orange cassettes, and then put the shrink wrapping around them so that, they would be that's my first album. And then the following spring, because Dr. DeMetal had advised me that if I wanted to get repeated airplay on the show, that I should have the album on CD and not cassette. So I released the second album on CD, and back then, in order to get a decent price break on CDs, you had to order at least 1,000 of them. And I decided to, if I'm going to order 1,000 copies of the second album, I might as well order 1,000 copies of the first album, and, so that I have both albums on CD. And again, to save money, I did the whole thing with, it was the orange paper for Fanboys in the Hood, and then the green paper for Shadows of the Bunghole. But this time around, due to the nature of the way CDs are made and shipped and packaged, I couldn't send them those things in advance to put them inside the CD cases with the packaging. So I ended up deciding, I'm going to want people to buy both albums anyway. Why don't I just sell them as a set? And so I took the orange and the green thing, and I put them in between the two CDs, and then I, just scotch taped the CDs with the shrink to the cases, so it was just a nice little 2 CD set, so that once you opened it, you'd see there's the inlay card, and you'd open the thing and put it inside yourself. So that was, why there was only I had literally 1 square's worth of space to try to put whatever information I felt was the most important to put in there, and that's why I didn't list any details about any of the songs.
Gotcha. Well, but also it reminds me that, and I had met you at Alcon 98, but this was an age before social media. This was before, I think I was intimidated to just send you an email at first, and because I was fucking 14 or something at the time. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't gonna just ask you what it was a parody of, but also I got this hyperfixation thing of okay, all my favorite artists who do song parodies, not just Al, but also Luke and Devo and Al. I'm gonna, because also by this point my dad was the manager of Amoeba Records on Hate, so I had a good repository of a place to buy cheap used music before the internet fucking crushed brick and mortar record stores. But I thought, okay, I am gonna collect on just used CDs every song that was parodied on these albums that I can think of, but I had no idea which Beastie Boys song was, so I was literally just asking the people at the record store, hey, did the Beastie Boys ever do a song about doctors? Or a song with doctor in the title? And they hadn't, of course, because like you said, it was a forced parody. So I just thought, okay, well, fuck it. I think I had read your Rap Dementia Manifesto by this point that used to be on your website, so I thought, okay, well, he's clearly into the really early Beastie Boys albums. I'll just buy License to Ill, and maybe I'll get lucky, and the song will be on there. And it's the first track. So, Ryman and Steve. Okay, cool. So that's the backwards ass way I was going about things. But yeah, because it was on a topic that I was actually familiar with, the Dr. and William became one of my favorite songs of yours from those first 2 albums. So, and my brain being my brain, I always kind of thought at the back of my mind, man, wouldn't it be fun to perform that song live with Luke at some point? And 27 years later, boom, yes. Very stupid dreams do come true.
Dreams do come true, yes.
So I think it was Jeff Morris that pointed this out to me, because I had forgotten that I had done this. Apparently, I even though I didn't. Okay, sorry. So back in those days of me recording in the studio, I would, basically I was paying by the hour. So if there were things that I didn't think were absolutely necessary, I would just not do them to save time, so I could concentrate on the things that I wanted to do. So if I wanted to have an instrumental track, we literally had to sit there and play the song from the ADAT copies onto the digital tape, and mix it down and just take out each of the lead vocals. And for some reason, I thought to myself, well, I'm never going to perform the Dr. and William live because it's too obscure of a topic for the people at the average convention I go to get. So I'm not going to make a backing track for that. So I never had a proper backing track for the Dr. and William. But then
the Alcons happened.
But then Alcon 2000 happened where, Al was off on tour, so he couldn't be there, and nor could anyone from the band. So Dr. Demento was the guest of honor, and I'm like, well, crap, I should perform this song. So I basically performed this song, just singing along with the song. And I think I remember I made a Beastie Boys style logo shirt that said Dr. Demento on it. I probably still have that somewhere in my archives back in Wisconsin. But I totally forgot that I had done that until Jeff Morris pointed it out to me recently.
Speaking of which, remember in the Facebook chat where we were actually thinking about, should we actually get like Beastie wardrobes to perform that? Like maybe I could get like a gold chain or something, or sunglasses or
yeah, we really I started going down that rabbit hole with you, and then at some point, probably just because I realized I'm here trying to take care of Kalani, and I'm hassling my friends from across the country to do this thing.
I think we all just collectively realized, what are we doing? The place doesn't even have good lighting. No one's gonna get the joke.
It's like the three of us would literally be the only people in the room who truly understood. Oh, Ad Rock, Mike DMCA. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I think during the song I did put my baseball hat on just so I could be slightly more Ad Rock-ish.
I did bring my leather jacket, and I forgot to bring it to the party. So
there we go.
So
and doing it at that party was fun, and the video is a lot of fun. Although I do wish, I do wish we had more people on the other side of the room getting video of it, because I know my girlfriend Kit was one of the people. Hi Kit, if you're watching, getting video of that performance. So I'm glad you were able to use her footage at least. But...
Yeah, we got Kit's, Chuck's, and Jeff Morris's, and Jeff's was basically unusable until somebody opened the door. So that's why there's only a handful of clips from straight on view, because those are Jeff's.
And look, I because you couldn't really hear the background music, everyone just started stomping along to it. Like everyone was
I didn't
clapping
notice
and
that.
stomping.
Yeah.
And because you got that kind of percussion, is it weird that I almost kind of like that better, because it's just so primal, to have the to have just
I think
people...
I think Kalani had said, because she was sitting next to Kim Christ, Mrs. Shoebox,
Right.
and apparently, I guess they said it sounded really good that the music was low because you could clearly hear all of our voices saying all of our words. So I mean, if we. I did record that performance. So I haven't gone to listen to it. I did share it with Steve Goody and Carla and Bill and Sulu, because they also performed their songs that they did, and I wanted them to have that so that they could do whatever they want with that recording. But my whole dream with that thing was like, we'll record it live at the party, we'll get this audio recording, and then we'll take that audio recording and we'll play that. We'll submit it to Dr. D, and hopefully he'll play that on the show. But the fact that I played the wrong track basically negates us doing that, because you're probably going to hear our voices and then my voice buried underneath it, doubling up everybody's voices, including the part at the end where Ian was doing Dr. Demento's impression. So
yeah, what are you gonna? I mean but anyway. So yeah, partly the reason why I didn't need the lyric sheet was partly because I remembered the song just from sense memory from when I was a kid, because you never forget the shit you memorize when you're a kid, and also I didn't know we'd be using the lyric sheet, so I actually went to painstaking lengths to rehearse it a lot on my own time. To make sure I knew, Porton, Vorton, all those little things where I'm just saying part of a word, that shit.
See, I had the song memorized. I was just afraid of screwing something up and getting mixed up and I'm at the wrong verse or something like that. So that's why I kept referring to my phone.
Yeah. And I had the lyric sheet in front of me, but I just found I wasn't looking at it by the end of the song, because it's like, fuck it, I know it.
I'm pretty sure Devo at some points in, the past however many years it's been, there have been times we've been performing Peter Parker and we accidentally switched parts.
Oh yeah. We absolutely have. Thankfully, we've managed to cover it because, like, once we start switching, we just kind of keep switching, and
it's like, oh wait, crap. Okay, keep going.
Think that ever happened to Run DMC?
I don't know. Be a good question to ask him if I ever meet him.
Run just out there. I'm Daryl Mack. Wait, no.
and then Run's the one refusing to perform on their comeback album.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a deep cut. Anyway,
we should wrap this up because we have another song to get to also. So.
Oh yes.
Okay, well then, real quick, I just want to point out a few of the more obscure sound bites in here because there were some that I did not know where they were from at all, and I had to basically talk to Whimsical Will to find out, because I didn't want to give away the surprise of what we were doing, and I assumed that when I told him, like, hey, can you tell me what these sound bites are, or do you have them? Can you send them to me? And he sent them to me, and unfortunately, he had to duck out of the party before we actually performed the song, but I know he saw the video. And oh, by the way, thank you, Devo, for making that video so I didn't have to. So
yay, Devo!
Much applause to you.
That was mostly so I could make I could use it in the FuMP promo for FuMP 110.
But so yeah, it's like the Fire at Will, Fire at Will, Fire at Will. I'm pretty sure that's from Independence Day. And then the last Fire at Will is the original pirate captain from the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Were any of those from Tailspin?
I don't think so. I know what joke you're referring to.
Yeah, because there's an episode of Tailspin where one of them goes Fire at Will, and then they shooting at one of the guys, and he's no, do not fire at Will. Will is my co-pilot, or something like that.
Yeah, it was Don Carnage. No, do not fire at Will. Fire at the Sea Duck.
Yeah.
Okay, so Slow Down, Mister. That's Existential Blues. I'm Spittin' Mad is Mimi, of an old lady who was a friend of Will's, and Will would have Mimi record like her reciting like the lyrics to Valley Girl or other crazy stuff.
Mimi was great.
She was great. I gotta look up. Dang it, where is Wims? No, I spelt it wrong. Hims. There we go. He said, because the blow it out, like I could not figure out what that was. So he said that that it's a drop-in that was used by the late radio sportscaster Jim Healy, and that the guy actually saying blow it out is attributed to a guy named Johnny Grant, who was the honorary mayor of Hollywood from 1980 to 2008, and he would shout that at protesters. So I would have never known any of that if it weren't for Will using that in the thing. And then Hang On to Them Hats and Glasses is from the original ride audio from when you get on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at the Disney parks. And back in the original version, in order to fit that in, I had to basically speed it up so it sounds, slightly chimmy, like, hang on to them hats and glasses. But this time, with modern technology, I was able to keep the correct pitch of the voice, but still get it in time. Like, hang on to them hats and glasses. And then, or did I lost my place here?
Are we starting this again from?
Yeah. So are we starting this again? That is from the Country Bear Christmas special. So it was a Christmas version of the Country Bear Jamboree show that only was at the Disney parks during the holiday season, and that voice was Thurl Ravenscroft as the character Buff. So yeah.
Will used a lot of Disneyland sound bites just because he worked at the park, and I think somehow he had access to them.
Yeah, like I'm kind of assuming he just raided their closets one day and just there's a bunch of stuff that you can buy certain things. They put out albums of like, oh, here's the Haunted Mansion audio or whatever. But he had a ton of stuff that nobody would ever have unless they worked there and they bootlegged it. So I also want to point out I'm very happy, thanks to the awesome work of Professor Shy Guy. The Pico and Sepulveda part came out way better because in the original version, I didn't have the hi-hat going because of the way we put the song together. It was just too much time and effort to make the hi-hat happen. So this time we have the hi-hat for those first however many measures it is, 4 measures when we're doing Pico and Sepulveda, and then he actually gave us the good guitar part to go with it that sounded better. And I also want to point out it's I don't know if you can really pick it out, but Shoebox's vocal on that, it's like he starts off with the first bar, Pico and Sepulveda, but then when it gets to the part with the piano, he starts singing Pico and Sepulveda. He's like this total dorky normal guy voice. Let's see. During the part where Will is freaking out and Dr. D's like, oh, that's okay. When I recorded that off of the radio in Kansas City, there was this part where like the sound completely cut out for like half a second, and I assumed all these years that it was the fault of the Kansas City radio station. And then when I got that soundbite from Jeff Morris, it turned out like, no, that was on the master tape. So I was like, well, it's so awkward to have that weird hole there in the middle of that soundbite. So I grabbed another famous Whimsical Will soundbite of a woman in the Mel Brooks movie Life Stinks. Right. And
that's
she's
the most obscure Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah.
Right there.
She's like, she was like a homeless woman who would pretend to be crazy and yell stuff. So she's like demonstrating, "Help me! Somebody help me!" So I worked in the "somebody help me" just to help cover up that hole and make it less, obvious. And the last thing I'll mention, besides the fact that I couldn't find the original Whimsical Will here from the original song because I literally have no idea what episode of the Meta News that was from, so I just used it from, I think it was Hey Batman 95 or something, or one of those things. But the what's up, Doc? I tracked that down, and I found out to my shock and astonishment that is not Mel Blanc.
Really?
I thought for decades that was Mel Blanc. Turns out it was a little golden record made way back in, whatever, the 40s or 50s or something. And for the little golden records of that era, they had other random people doing the Looney Tunes voices. So if you listen to the rest of that song and hear this guy doing the other Looney Tunes voices, it's super obvious he's not Mel Blanc. Like, the what's up, Doc, which at the very end of the song is just good enough that for all these years, I thought it was Mel Blanc. And when I found that out, I was like, this is a freaking scandal. But whatever. I still wanted to be authentic because that's the what's up, Doc he uses during his, like, one of his, like, coming back in from a break sound things. So I'm like, well, I'm going to use that because that's what Dr. D used. But I was just flabbergasted that wasn't... that wasn't thing. And then also I want to point out that in the live version, Ian did the Dr. Demento voice, and then when I did the recorded version, I initially thought, well, I'll just do the Dr. Demento voice. I did it on the original, and Ian really wanted to be the one to do the Dr. Demento voice on the final, and when I initially played it for them, Ian was kind of like, what the fuck, man? Why did you take the thing out? And so I put the thing back so that it could be Ian, because I wanted, so that way Ian got to have his voice specifically heard, Chris got to have his voice specifically heard, and unfortunately Shoebox doesn't have a thing where his voice is specifically heard. And the main reason for that was just because
the song doesn't mention nipples. That's all.
Well, yeah. That plus I just always assume he's so busy with his life that I didn't want to be a pain in the butt to him, and I didn't want to put something in the song where it was absolutely necessary that he was in it in case he either didn't show up for the party because of something coming up with his family or whatever. I don't know. It's, kind of a lame excuse, but, it still means a lot to me because, basically the only person missing from that song, in my opinion, is Carrie as far as, like, the core group of people that I have been doing funny music with, for the past however many years now. So yeah. But that's the whole shebang. Thank you, everyone. Thank you again to Devo for making that video. Oh, I haven't mentioned specifically yet. Thank you to Chuck for making that artwork of the three of us. It's amazing.
Yes. Oh my God, that looks
it's
so
like,
awesome.
I don't got a lot of money to throw around right now, but I was like, I really don't have time to draw this myself. I could pay somebody with a buttload of talent to make that particular part of the image for me, and she did. And then I made the FuMP Beastie Boys parody logo, which we're going to use for the next FuMP album. Anyway, so yeah, it all worked out great. So thank you to Chuck for that as well. And thank you to you guys and Chris and Ian and Shoebox for being a part of the whole thing. Yeah. So I appreciate it. And, we'll get back together in another 27 years. And
yay!
We'll change the lyrics again about how the AI Dr. Demento that was uploaded to the cloud, now sends songs directly to our brain through a Black Mirror device. So, yes.
In 27 years, Doc will only be 111 years old. So he'll be hitting his stride.
And Trump will be on his 9th term because that's the way reality goes.
Why you gotta? Why you say the words with the thing? Why?
All right, let's do some feedback. Where is the thing?
Making the internet absolutely ridiculous. Dementia Radio.
www.dementiaradio.org. Port 8027.
Please hang up and try again.
This is the part where there's feedback. Feedback. That segment of the show we do about now.
Feedback.
Feedback.
Draconosaurus.
Over on YouTube, Draconis wrote, "What happened to the audio podcast version of this episode? It's not yet available on the website or my podcast catcher." I don't know. I was putting together the show for this evening, and I went to pull the comments from last week's episode, and I went to the website, and I'm like, where's last week's episode? And it wasn't there. I remember filling out the form. The audio was posted to archive.org. The video was posted to YouTube. I don't know what happened. Either I forgot to hit submit on the form, or when I did, an error occurred and I didn't notice, but for some reason it never got added to the database. So that has been fixed. The last week's episode is now posted to the feed, so it should show up in your players, and then this episode will show up after it. I'll make it a point to post this episode after midnight, so that just make sure your podcaster gets both of it. So, yeah, I don't know what happened. That was the thing that happened. All right, that's all the feedback we got. And we have a third song this week, followed by a pre-recorded interview with Mikey Mason.
Do you guys want to hang around for that, or do you want to take off?
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
I think I'm going to take off, if that's all right.
That's fine.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Tony.
Bye.
Wait, Tony, before you go, let's plug Escape from Vault Disney one more time.
Escape from Vault Disney, available wherever podcasts are available. And the most recent episode was, at long last, David Gansel, a.k.a. Doggins, used his guest choice, and he used it to make us watch The Sign of Zorro, the Zorro Disney movie from the late 50s. So check out that episode, and coming soon, Patreon Request Month, starting with The Boys, the Sherman Brothers story. So look for that.
Hooray! Thank you, Tony.
All right.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
All right, here is It's Donut by Mikey Mason.
All right, Dungeon Crawl Earth fans, gentle beings of all species, you know what time it is. It's donut time! Who is the prettiest princess? She's the best, shun the rest. Baby, it's Donut. Who is the dungeon's best? Persian breed, pedigreed, guaranteed. Baby, it's Donut. She's a former child actor and an artist, alley mofer and a football hooligan. A legendary diva and a viper queen, master telephone, psychic and a glass cannon. Who is the prettiest princess? She's the best, shun the rest. Baby, it's Donut. Who is the dungeon's best? Persian breed, pedigreed, guaranteed. Baby, it's Donut. She's the prima donna of the penis parade in the crown of
of the sepsis hole. Be a princess posse or a donut hole. You come screaming back for more. Who is the prettiest princess? She's the best, shun the rest. Baby, it's Donut. Who is the dungeon's best? Persian breed, pedigree, guaranteed. Baby, it's Donut.
It's grand champion, breed winner, regional, national winner, best in dungeon, Princess Donut, the queen and charm!
I am here with Mikey Mason. How you doing, Mikey?
I'm all right. How are you, Tom?
Doing good. So you posted a song called It's Donut, and I got all excited thinking it was a song about a donut.
It is
and
not about
it's
donuts.
not about a donut. So explain, please.
Okay, so there is an author who does lit RPG, which is gaming-inspired literature, specifically literature which involves game mechanics as part of the literature.
Okay.
So if you were to write a Minecraft book, and there have been Minecraft books,
Yeah.
I know I bought them for my kid way back when they were into that.
A friend of mine
from
wrote
the point
one.
of view, yeah, from the point of view of somebody playing Minecraft, all right, or in the game of Minecraft,
Yeah.
but with the conscious of the mechanics. That's lit RPG.
Okay.
It's at least one take on it. And so Matt Dinneman wrote this book series called Dungeon Crawler Carl. And he self-published them. Now he's picked up by a big-time press, and he's on the New York Times bestseller list.
Nice.
And he's 6 or 7 books in, and he's just it's amazing for him, and I'm happy for him. Before I knew that, I got into these books kind of snobbishly. I was like, well, lit RPG, that's not going to be for me or whatever. But I'm a massive geek, and he's written it so well, and I just immediately got over my snobbishness and devoured the book. So my favorite character is a cat named Donut, who gains sentience. And the ability, and she's a cat. She's Princess Donut, the Queen Anne chunk. And so I love these books. I don't want to go into any spoilers for the books. Saying that the cat gains sentience is probably as spoilery as it gets, and that's in the first few chapters of the first book. But that's it. It's fantastic. Carl is a resident of Seattle, and then aliens take over the world and turn it into a video game situation.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's I mean, beyond that, I don't want to go to. But if you're into video game mechanics, if you play video games and you want a character-driven story that is absolutely bonkers, at times ultra violent, occasionally borders on the squick. It's just gonzo. It's the best. I absolutely adore it. My wife, Carl continually throughout the series uses the phrase, "God damn it, donut." And my wife has a sticker on the back of her car that says, "God damn it, donut."
Nice.
And
I wonder how many people actually get the reference versus thinking it's an actual donut.
More and more and more. Last week, hell, it was probably earlier this week, Matt Dinneman sold out a theater in Las Vegas.
Wow.
For a signing. Hold on, if you can hear that, my cat thinks that I'm starving her. She just ate less than 2 hours ago. I don't know if you. God damn it, donut.
I heard
Anyway,
something, but I couldn't tell what it was. But
yeah.
So in the lyrics to your song, which I have up here, you mentioned a couple of things: a former child actor, artist, alley mogul, football hooligan. This is all from the cat.
Yes. Yeah. Well, all right. So one of the conceits of the story is that as they level up and move to different different levels of the world dungeon that they're on. They have at a certain point they start getting classes and they gain levels in classes. But she picked a class called former child actor, and so every floor she gets to pick a new class. And she gets the benefits of that. So she's a former child actor. That's her base class. And then, but she's also been an artist alley mogul. She's had that class, football hooligan. I mean, telephone psychic, master telephone psychic. She's had
Okay.
all these classes. And the higher level she gets, and the deeper into the dungeon they get, the more classes she will have accrued. And of course, he stays his base class all the way through. So
nice.
But everything in there is just pulled from the book because it's one of those, I call them puzzle songs. You take all this information from something that you're really into or that you like, and then you make a song out of it, you know?
Mhm.
So, but I absolutely adore the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. So, and
I may have to look into that.
You know,
This
Matt
is-
Dinneman deserves all the success he gets.
It sounds really cool. I may have to look into
Yeah.
it.
Well, here's the thing. When I wrote the song, I wrote it for my Patreon, and then I learned that I was going to be at a convention with Matt, and so I got to play the song. The first time I played the song in public, he was in the audience.
Nice.
He took a video, he posted it on his page, and that was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Jeff Hayes does the audiobooks, and he is absolutely incredible. As a matter of fact, at first I thought there were multiple people voicing the characters in these books. He's that good. He's
Nice.
fantastic. Totally worth. Sound Booth Theater, I think, is what it's called. The publishing, Jeff's company, but they're absolutely fantastic. And so I got to do that in front of Matt, but I learned then that he had quit his job to pursue doing art at conventions. He used to do caricatures and art of people's cats, and he did cat art at conventions. So he's very tongue-in-cheek about everything. He also plays bass in a punk band, and he constantly, rags on bass players or whatever. He'll take a dig at himself. This guy he'll dish it out, but he can take it. He's just, I like to think I'm a funny guy. He is just brutally funny. Now, granted, he's just got to write it and be done with it, and he doesn't have to do it over and over and over, but it's a different style.
Yeah.
But in 2020, of course, when the pandemic hit, he zeroed out on everything because you can't do conventions, you can't
Right.
and he'd quit an advertising career to pursue this art, right? And so now he doesn't have an income, and he started writing these books because he'd always been a writer, and he started writing these books and self-publishing them. And we're in 2025, right? He is 6 books in now in 2025.
Wow.
And he started in 2020 publishing them on his own, and now he is a 6-time New York Times best-selling author because he sold enough that Major League Press took notice and bought the options, and now his stuff is in bookstores everywhere.
Wow.
And,
That's amazing. That's really
he took
cool.
lit RPG mainstream. He's
Yeah.
living the dream of every independent creator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm super happy for him. He totally deserves it. And it's just because I'm a fanboy of his work.
And yeah, you have a song about it.
Yes.
Which is the last track on your new album, Mimic.
It is.
So you wanna
Yeah.
Tell us about Mimic.
Well, it's getting to be convention season. I needed an album. No, I'm just. I put out so much work on Patreon, and I try and organize it into logical groups of songs. And Mimic just fits. Every song on there fits somewhere in the demographic of my comedy rock geek oeuvre or whatever, my milieu. So, but there are 2 songs on it about mimics. either directly or indirectly. So that's why it got called Mimic.
Okay.
And then it's about gaming and movie quotes that we like, and being a geek and all the things that entails.
And fuck you for making me cry while listening to it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, well, you're talking about Summerlands.
I am talking about Summerlands. I was not expecting that. I'm out walking my dogs and I'm like, what the fuck am I listening to? What, Mikey? You're killing me here.
Yeah, well, I love cats. And so I do Black Friday sales generally around the holidays. And let people commission songs for a super reasonable fee. About half of what I would normally charge. So about 150. I would normally charge 300 for a commission. And in either case, I keep all rights. But and if you want to own the song outright, you're going to have to pay me a lot more than $300.
Yeah.
But so a friend and a patron of mine, Les Howard, they had lost their cat recently, and he wanted me to write a song for their cat that they lost. And so I wrote a song for every cat that I lost. And which, that transfers.
It's a beautiful song. It really is a beautiful song. It's very well
Thank
done.
you.
I just was not expecting it. And it
Yeah,
kind of blindsided me.
There's got to be a left hook somewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of two cat songs on the album, because the other one is about Dex Star, the Red Lantern from DC Comics, a cat who is a Red Lantern powered by rage, and it's called I Good Kitty, and it's just if you like the Red Lantern Corps, if you like Dex Star, the cat Red Lantern, that's your song, baby.
Cool. Well, great stuff. Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
My Patreon, I put out a song a week on average. I put out at least a song a week, but I average about 67 songs a year since September of 2019. And I don't intend to slow down at all. They're not all funny. Sometimes you get a Summerlands.
Yeah. Sometimes you do.
I almost guarantee every month there's going to be at least one geeky funny song. And it's generally the first song of the month. For $1 a month, you get one song a month. That's the first song of the month. And those are the ones I try and make sure are geeky funny. If you give me $5 a month, you get a song a week at minimum. But again, usually 67 or more per year, around 67 per year.
Cranking them out, dude.
Patreon.com/Mikey Mason.
Yeah.
It's you do the work. That's all it is. The songs may not ever reach an album in the state they were posted on Patreon, but that's a starting point. These are all drafts.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool. All right, dude. Well, thank you for joining us. And
thanks. I'm sorry I made you
next
cry.
time.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Later, man.
Teasing. He's a teasing kind of guy. Now you have a joke.
Yeah. Teasing. Where the hell's my video? Did I? I thought. Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought the teasing scene also had a video scene. It does not. All right. All right. Teasing. Tomorrow's song is by Paul Wensley. And Tuesday's song is by Lemon Demon. And for this week's Spotify playlist topic, we had previously somebody suggested TV shows by FuMP artist. So I started working on some of that. I was going to include I Am the Doctor by me, Doctor Who by Insane Ian. Luke, you have hundreds to choose from. What do you want to do? I was going to suggest either No Sleep Till Babylon or The Twilight Zone.
How about one of mine that isn't sci-fi and go with something like either Kramer Costanza or My Name is Al Bundy?
Okay. I'll go with Kramer's Costanza. I like that one better.
Another Beastie Boys parody.
It is.
and No Sleep Till Babylon, also a Beastie Boys
also
parody.
A Beastie Boys parody. All right, then I Need Help Fighting the Evil Dead by Bone Cage, Letterkenny by Mikey Mason, and Dead People by Carla Ulbrich. I need like 4 more songs. And I was trying to think of like what shows people have done songs about that
Was Ian's song about house on the FuMP? I don't think it was.
Probably, but I already have a song by Ian.
But Kang, that's about a TV show.
Yeah, but that's also by Ian. I try to keep it to one song per artist.
Oh, and what do you have of Ian what do you have from Ian already?
Doctor Who.
Oh, duh. Okay. Carrie did that song about the show Heroes.
Yeah.
Hazy Shade of something. It was a parody of Hazy Shade of Winter. I can't remember the name of the title of it.
Hazy Shade of Killer, I believe.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
Hazy
what it
Shade
was.
of Killer. All right, what else we got? Name a show. Pick a show. Pick a TV show. What do people sing? What do you do songs about? Anybody do a song about Once Upon a Time?
I considered it at one point. It was going to be a parody of Once in a Lifetime by Talking Heads. Once upon a time,
Yeah.
I liked that show. So many
I
people
did too.
bag on that show, and it's like, screw y'all. Y'all don't know what fun is.
No, I liked that show. However, they ran out of ideas at like season 4. So they just started redoing things. So like all of a sudden nobody knows their storybook characters again. And then season 7, they did it again. Oh, nobody knows their storybook characters again.
I think it was a case of everyone expected the show to end at season 6 because, like, the first 3 seasons were kind of one big arc, and then the second 3 seasons was another big arc, and everyone was expecting, okay, at the end of 6, that's going to be it. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, we want more, we want to do another season, and, like, only half of the actors wanted to stick around for it. So they had to figure out a whole other... It's like, oh, let's move them to Seattle. Let's have, like all this stuff they were trying to figure out in the last season. So
yeah, it just didn't
I
work.
thoroughly get why the last season is a complete mess, but... yeah.
All right, so I'll find some other songs. All right, Alchav, plug yourself one more time, and thank you for sticking around, dude.
I'm just some guy. Hey, you know what? I've got something to plug that I completely forgot earlier. If you liked Cactus, or if you didn't, there's a remix on the FuMP Sideshow by Gasoline Invertebrate, Brian Gropner.
Cool. Check that out. Luke, plug yourself one more time.
Well, I got all of my comedy music stuff on all of those streaming platforms. Just search for The Great Luke Ski. My primary website for it is thegreatlukeski.com. My Bandcamp page is lukeski.bandcamp.com. And for the sake of plugging something that I probably could have mentioned earlier, y'all remember a whole bunch of months back, I did a special episode. Jeff Morris aided me in putting together a special episode of the Dr. Demento Show where the theme of the episode was Star Trek. So it was like a whole big, going through all of the Star Trek shows and, having a whole bunch of songs that hadn't been heard or had rarely been heard and made it a whole shebang, and it ended with like the top 10 most popular Star Trek tracks from Dr. Demento Show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have teamed up with Jeff Morris once again to do an episode like that with Dr. Demento's blessing, and that will be the show coming out this weekend where the theme is animation. So we're doing it kind of chronologically by cartoon character. So we're going to start with, the stuff in the 20s with like Mickey and Minnie, and then move on to Looney Tunes and blah, blah, blah. But then we bring it all the way up clear to 2024. The last, the second to last song of the show is from Has Been Hotel, and the last song of the show is a song that Sulu performed at that party called something about her, like basically getting it on with cartoon characters or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the final song of the episode. She's made a studio version of that, so hopefully she'll post it at the FuMP. If she's listening, Sulu. So be on the lookout for that. This coming this weekend from the Dr. Demento Show, drdemento.com, etc.
All right, let's get out of here. Thank you for listening to the Funny Music Podcast. I'm Devo Spice.
I'm Luke Ski, and look, hey, there's Alchav.
What?
Thank you for listening to...
Sorry. Let's do that again. I forgot I clicked the wrong button. So, hey, well, thank you for listening to the Funny Music Podcast with Diva Spice and Luke Ski.
Hey, Luke Ski, Skalkev!
Thank you for listening to the Funny Music Podcast. You can listen live every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific at DementiaRadio.org and join us in the chat. Or subscribe to the podcast feed. Look us up on iTunes and be sure to leave us a review. Feedback for the show can be sent to info@thefump.com. The Funny Music Podcast is a production of Fidem Interactive, LLC, released under a Creative Commons share-alike license. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Shout it to random people on the street. And be sure to visit thefump.com for the latest funny songs. Tune in next week where you'll hear Luke Ski say...
Welcome to the Dead Cat Song Podcast! All the best songs about dead cats! We will make you cry, you bitch!